evening, everyone. This is the 7:30 meeting for the Citizens Advisory Committee. In attendance tonight are Mr. Moralda, Dr. Chantley, Ms. Fabiano, Ms. Ratner, and is Ms. Alvarez online?
Yes, I am.
Hope you're feeling better. And Dr. Lehman's usually here. but-
Yes, he had something positive to attend for his wife. He said he was gonna rush back. I told him not to.
I told her not to either.
I didn't tell
So
him not to.
you were don't come
You
back.
know
We're
what?
hungry. Go
Actually,
ahead.
we're still in the beginning phases of this committee. We can't do anything. I just wrote some notes down. We can't do anything until we get results from, if you're in on the strategic plan results, Dr. Chanley and Dr. Lehman, to give us more direction, and that's what my notes says.
Yep.
First of all, would you be able to do a sign-up sheet for each monthly meeting, or do you want me to design something?
Yeah, I mean, that's easy now.
Good, I was hoping you said that.
He knew you were gonna ask him that.
Did you know?
I said I came with a pen.
Yes.
For everything Mr. Payne's gonna need to do.
I have the whole sheet.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Gail's
Is
ready.
it typed up?
No, it's, she has.
No, you know why? I was sitting last night husband was watching a game or something, and I was just writing notes, but, also I wanted to know, when we do this meeting, Dr. Lehman, I would imagine, and Dr. Chanley would be the people to bring out the strategic plan to the committee people, and then express to them what we would like to see done for the year,
Mhm,
where Dr. Lehman, particularly said finance.
mhm.
So I think we need to find out through them what our top financial issue is and how that committee can go back out and help us with the financial issue. I mean, we don't know. We might get a committee and two people might say, well, I work for J&J and we match, and I work for Dutch, Amazon and whatever. You don't know what kind we're gonna get. So if we can get people like that to at least, bring in some finances to the district and other ideas on how to do it. That was my main goal, was to say if that is our one main purpose.
And last month we talked about this.
Yes.
Right.
And
I think we set two, we had like.
Right, we had
Yes.
two.
Right.
But I just wanted to, because my directions in here, talk about which way the committee wanted
So
to
the
go.
committee, right,
Setting up protocols and procedures. I mean, I think we're still early on that.
we are.
And I just put that in there to talk about what you thought, anybody thought came.
So
with
if,
that.
if I remember, I think it was our first meeting, Dr. Lehman had brought up the suggestion of, starting with a presentation
Right.
of some sort
Mhm.
on a topic. We
Mhm.
sort of started narrowing it down to the idea of a financial
Right.
topic, obviously affecting the district and education. And then from there, perhaps we could do like a discussion related to that, as well as, then we'd also talked about, having a follow-up assignment, if you, I hate saying assignment, being the teacher, I don't want to give homework to adults, but,
Right.
but
that's in my
that could
notes.
possibly be like what we start with, maybe like we review the follow-up work that we did,
Right.
then have the presentation,
Mhm.
and then have a discussion about the presentation.
So,
Did you read my notes before I got here?
I mean-
Because that's exactly what I had.
I don't, the way that I'm envisioning this is. Right. So we would always have an introduction, some sort of a presentation to lay out what.
and then individual
our goal
work in
of-
groups.
goal was for the meeting, and then you would have groups, at different tables working, and then we would come back at the end
I think that should.
and share it out. And I feel like that was a really good format. It allowed everybody to kind of work collaboratively. It allowed the committee to kind of circulate and, speak with the individuals who are
It
here.
was very productive.
Right.
And if I could elaborate on the strategic plan.
Sure, let's see.
So, I reached out, to, Mrs. Fabiano, Mrs. Alvarez, as I often do, as the, leadership of the board, and we talked about time frame. We made the decision, we thought it was most appropriate to have our budget philosophy. We're doing everything earlier. I mean, last year was way months later.
Mhm.
So we're gonna do our budget philosophy, as well as a strategic plan presentation in September intentionally.
Mhm.
It is our intention to do that. Number one, they flow together beautifully because strategic plan should, unfortunately or fortunately, monetary situations always come in the forefront. That will allow us to have presented it to the public for those that come and those that watch, or those that go back and watch after it's taped. Give people a really good understanding. They can go back and watch our prior Citizen Advisory Committee meeting where you discussed about the deadlines.
Right,
And then we talked about how we would start the meeting in September.
October.
Oh, October, no, well, September's when we go through it. We're gonna have the meeting, open
Well,
up the
they're
meeting.
going to, we had discussed, because I had talked.
Yeah, I
to
believe
Mr.
so.
Miranda, September 1st,
Regardless of the website.
Yes.
right, because you said you were working, they were working on the
We're
website.
being very cautious.
And the
about-
deadline, what we talked about September being a meeting where we
Right.
open the meeting and then close it to work.
Right.
To work, correct. And that works out beautifully. Why? Because after you close the meeting and the committee works on the selection, then September, I'm doing off the top of my head, I want to say 15 is perfect because that's the board meeting.
Right.
Right? Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Am I right? Is it better?
I think it's a little bit later.
Maybe it's 21st.
After, because I don't think we've.
I think it's
board
September
meeting for the
21st. I have it right here.
I have it here too. September 18th is.
Oh, that's it, September.
committees are-
So what works out really nicely is so in September on
Well, the
The-
board meeting is the 25th.
I was gonna say, I got.
Yeah.
the 25th, that really gives us a nice amount of time
Right.
because you have the working committee meeting where you select the people.
Right.
Then people will be like, okay, I selected, thank you for selecting me. However, where's the strategic plan? It's all gonna come on the 25th, which is perfect. So that people know that the strategic plan, so for example, we always hear the community. We understand and we respect, kindergarten is always a top of the conversation. You know, an individual had come up to me after we had our liaison meeting, our meeting where we had our guests, which was an excellent meeting. Our guest came. You're still gonna include kindergarten? Absolutely, of course. You know, the strategic plan is a 5-year plan. Well, first we have to look and see where we are financially. I can't make that judgment until Ms. Allen does, and it's a lot of estimation. It's a lot of assumptions. We're going to assume flat state aid. We're going to assume appropriations were the same. We'll go, or whatever she assumes. I won't speak for her. So when we do a budget philosophy, we'll be able to say, this is where, as of today, because we're doing everything early, this is where we're at financially. Maybe we'll be where we need to be. Maybe we'll be $1 million over. Maybe we'll be 5 million. I don't know. I don't know. And then the strategic plan follows beautifully because our first priority will be always to maintain the quality employees we have and maintain the programs we have. And then, of course, to move forward. And also I had said, I used the number 15 million because it was just a conversation that I had with Mr.
Well,
Tate.
you
and-
said that for the
Correct.
kindergarten.
Right, so we want to be able to have solid numbers. Why? So in our budget for this year, we have the demographer that is permitted to be paid for because it's part of our budget. So it's, I like what you're saying because this particular committee hinges on these other things happening.
Right, and that actually was part of tomorrow's discussion as well, because we were doing a follow-up from last month. And one of the things they asked for was,
Oh,
we
LACE.
get, right, for the LACE committee, can we get a detailed cost analysis of what you would need for full-day kindergarten? You know, and I think that, listen, I think we all want to see it, like, I would love to see it, you know, in 3 weeks, I've got my little guy going, right? But I clearly that's not happening, just to make that public.
And of course,
But,
analysis, we have to do a demographic study.
Right, but I think it would be interesting to see with the demographic study, maybe we don't need to build as much anymore at elementary school.
They
We
might-
might need to re-outfit rooms.
Right,
And
and
make
the
sure
other
we're
word,
following
the other word is,
regulations.
would we have to
Redistrict.
redistricts? I mean, I know it's a word. I mean, I've been here so many years, so I know everybody who's been through, but you know, if we're looking and saying, you know, this school has 285 children, right? And then this school has 585 children.
Right.
You gotta be careful how you redistrict. You can't, if someone that lives next door to the school, you're not gonna redistrict.
Right.
It's similar to what I've been doing with the special education programs. I've been very passionate, and it's been happening, about moving the special education programs when we can back into the home schools, because we have these self-contained programs. We don't right now, but we did have children that lived near Applegrove going to Mill Lake, and that's not fair to the children, and they don't grow up with their friends, and it was one of the conversations we've been having on.
To a lesser extent, that was changed with ECE this year. too.
Correct.
It's a little
Yes,
bit different,
a little
it's
bit
only
different.
half day, but.
Right, so we're really making the effort, so I think that, we can talk about this tomorrow, that where we're looking to go with this committee is, and we're excited because September, September is a big board meeting. It's gonna be philosophy presentation on the budget philosophy, we're doing it, I think, 3 or 4 months in advance, and we're also gonna be having the strategic plan presentation,
Right.
and, it gives us a lot of food for thought about where we go, and it'll definitely direct this
Yeah,
committee.
and I would also like to have copies of that philosophy and the strategic plan for this committee. When they start out, we want to give them a nice packet,
Okay,
and at least
not a problem.
they can take it home and
It's
read
wrong.
it.
That would be that would be all information that we
Yeah.
would be making public anyway.
Right, it's made public,
But it should be, I agree, like, here's your folder, thank you for coming.
Yeah,
And
I-
give it to-
If it's okay, Mrs. Redd, that's a nice segue, because I was thinking, so structurally, how do you, now that the meetings are gonna start to rev up,
right.
how would you like to execute the meeting? Dr. Lehman had mentioned when we conceptually, had started talking about it, we had looked at what other communities had done.
Right.
And, I believe we had liked the idea of like, starting the meeting off with some sort of like, short, hey, here's, if we're talking about finance, hey, I just signed a purchase order today, this is a true story, I just signed a purchase order today for the wood shop to buy the lumber, and we're up 12% from last year. So like, these are the hidden inflationary costs that when we talk in the grand scheme of the school board budget becoming more efficiency, we have a district commitment to expand vocational learning, right? And we all agree on that, right?
Yes.
So, but unfortunately, the inflation in the local economy doesn't care about that. So,
And the global.
well, yes, that's correct. And so so these are the types of costs that keep us up at night when designing a budget philosophy that is aggressive, cutting edge, but also
Within
being true to
2%.
all types of learning. And that doesn't even talk about, healthcare payments, stuff like that. So we like, and again, the 5 to 10 minute, hey, this is what we're gonna talk about tonight, would shift. So if one meeting, if we're talking about full day kindergarten, maybe the presentation evolves to that lens. Versus just, because I also don't want to be repetitive too, like, here's the budget philosophy that we just presented last month at the board meeting, and like, we revisit that. But maybe just take a particular piece of that,
Right.
or a piece of the strategic plan, depending on who our committee ends up being. And
Right.
detailing it out.
It all depends on the committee members
Right,
and what's needed at the time. And like you just said, wood or something went up for the wood shop,
yeah,
12%.
got it today.
Those are things that need to be written down and at the meeting given to them and spoken to them in the beginning, and let them go home with something so that they can keep a booklet themselves, or, a folder themselves to say, well, look at what Mr. Moralda and Dr. Chanley brought up last time. I know somebody that owns a woodworking company, or I know somebody that owns this, and I know somebody, it's using, not using, but getting the people in the district to help us where needed, but only when stated. People don't know, like what you just said.
Well,
That went up.
and forget about the culinary lab.
I was just gonna say,
Talk about
for our,
groceries,
anybody that
so,
goes
but
shopping, you pay $6 for a box of cereal.
Yeah,
I will say this,
and shopping,
And-
look
and
how
to
much
my
meat
original
has gone
point.
up. You can't use that.
academic arena in general is trying to figure this all out, right? It's not just Monroe. So, and the programs are evolving, we were talking about this curriculum today. The programs are evolving at a pace faster than our municipal or even state infrastructure can handle. Not just even from an operational standpoint, but from a financial standpoint. I mean, the cost of robotics, they will want robotics. But I also want culinary instruction. It's all expensive.
Everything.
And we also have a district that's growing. And we want to attract.
And we have a district that's above adequacy
Yeah.
always.
And we like that.
Yes, we do.
So, however, with the push for culinary arts is very popular now, and it used to just be a vocational school thing, but now it's pretty much mainstream. So what happened was, the industry started to change, and now there's purchasing consortiums that we can join up with our local food suppliers. And so the educational industry has caught up. It's not caught up in everywhere though, and I envision in a grander scheme that the committee itself can stimulate, even if it's just through dialogue,
Right,
and then eventually if we get a local legislator back.
yes.
And then, these types of things start to take grain. Also, maybe there's someone in the audience that could bring us a good deal on lumber, but maybe there's also someone that starts to think, we need to do a better job in the public sector of partnering up, whether it be with private businesses or just
Right.
figuring out how to supply
Exactly.
schools in a cost
Right,
effective.
but you don't know that until you get your committee and find out what each person is going to personally bring to that committee, who they know,
Right.
what they know,
And I think,
their past jobs,
Go ahead.
what they can do to bring to that committee. So we're still in limbo here until we get
And that's okay though.
that. Yeah, oh, no, that's why I said, we're not gonna have a long meeting because we're still.
I think that looking at
Discussing.
it, perhaps the first meeting, once we've selected, because that's what next month
Right.
will be, is we can review the same budget philosophy
Right.
and strategic plan that we're doing in September. And then after it's reviewed, that could be the first half of the meeting. The second half could be discussion. What are the topics that this committee would like to highlight from there?
Took my thoughts.
we do that. And, break it down month by month
I think
to
if we
create a schedule.
create a roadmap, like, and I feel like, I think I said the same thing every month, sorry, I'm cutting you off.
No, go for it.
The
I do it enough to get.
strategic plan is going to drive this committee. So
Exactly.
the information that we get from that is going to help us shape the direction that the committee wants to go. And ultimately, we know financially, like, we want to have a financial focus coming out of this committee.
Right.
We were looking for ideas and how the community can, help us in that general area, but taking the strategic plan and, like you said, breaking it down and looking at every single nuance and kind of creating a roadmap. Okay, in October, we're gonna talk about this part of the.
And that's exactly how we do our strategic
And then
plan.
in
Yeah.
October, we're gonna talk about this one, and it'll keep us
Right.
organized and together, and it'll set a map for.
And then the format,
I was gonna say what we can do then, like we discussed briefly vocational, right? So we have vocational, we can talk about what vocational programs we have, which ones we'd like to see, then discuss, okay, well, what are ways that we can finance this? Obviously, we would all love to just revamp the formula and give us all millions of dollars, right? That would be ideal. And I think, we've tried our hardest to do that. However, possibly splitting into groups like, okay, well, why doesn't this group research grants? Let's this group research, partnerships and sponsorships. This group research ways we might be able to get these materials, in other ways and sort of go from there. And that would be one month. And then the next month would be a different topic.
But I think until we get the committee,
Mhm.
your ideas are great, something to keep on our plates.
Mhm.
But we have to see the makeup of this committee first before we can either break up into groups, I think it's, a lot of it depends on
who lies.
Yes. Yes, I agree, but also it is still the committee of the board,
Oh,
right? So
yes.
we are still going to set forth the
Yes.
direction
Yeah.
that I agree with you 100%.
And inviting, so for
But-
example, if we want to expand the committee,
Mhm.
when you say grants, I automatically think of Mrs. Christie,
Mhm.
because, she has a tremendous amount of experience. That's why we restructured to give it to her. And that would be something I agree. I like that because when you think of grants, and then it's the same thing as also like Miss Allen, she's come to the previous meeting. It is appropriate. So I think we need to also look, because I like what you said. Let's say, and this is not gonna happen, but let's say, God forbid, we only have 6 people. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, but let's say we don't have the influx.
We don't know.
We don't know, right?
I mean, we've
It's
been,
not enough for the hour.
we've been advertising and talking about it so much that actually people come up to me sometimes in different venues in town and say, can you put my name on that?
I think it-
And I can't say it.
But regardless, I like what you said. You're absolutely right, Mrs. Fabiano. It is, like I always say that I'm invited here. It's your committee, your committee. So,
We're full control.
and I think that's great because what we can do is then we can invite and welcome to talk specifically. I like your idea with the strategic plan because it'll guide us. We won't be off topic.
Right.
Like people immediately couldn't wait to come up to me and say, well, you're gonna have full day kindergarten. Of course who wouldn't say they want full day kindergarten? But first we have to make sure that we have the budget that we need, and if we need to prioritize in this cuts, maybe there won't be. I don't know. She hasn't done the numbers yet, so I will not speak on it. But I think that the strategic plan, I remember clearly, vocational. And then we had, the different types of education. We talked about special education programs being in home schools. And then, of course, kindergarten was there. So all of these things were there. We're basically in a good place with it, but we want to meet with our leadership team. That's why I asked them to do it in September.
Yeah, and it felt a little rushed because we were so backed up against the July 31st.
And you have a lot, and people have rights for their vacation.
So I just have a quick question, and I was Mrs. Ratner's meeting. I always get wasted.
No, it's not.
No, this is mine.
Hey, oh, so you're wrong feet then?
Yes,
Yes, but
that's
she might-
too awkward though.
Yeah.
Offered to, but no, she was here already, and I just sat, so,
So while we have
you
the
didn't
time.
hear me announce the meetings beforehand, or are you playing around on the computer?
He's taking
I'm
notes.
not playing on the computer.
He's taking notes.
Writing. So while it's us,
Thank
right,
you, I appreciate you taking the notes,
Of course.
believe you me.
my chicken scratch.
And-
How do we want to, before we get up and running, how do we want to structure the evening? So like, I'm looking at my associate over there and cover.
We're all
just-
looking at him.
just- No, we're talking.
No, we're talking. So speaking of.
How do you want to cover the meeting? So are we gonna have think about the setup, obviously we'll have printed material,
Right,
you know, the public's probably gonna wanna obviously be a part of it from a viewing standpoint.
Maybe like
Probably
a
think about
strategic,
that.
something like Mrs. Fabiano said.
They're not, and I
Yeah.
can't
All of our
see
committees
why.
that way.
Okay.
But I also don't know that it would, like,
It
so,
doesn't have to
The way
be.
it doesn't
but
have to be public.
None of the
Because
meetings.
it's not one of our committee meetings.
no, but I
But it
think what
is.
it could be is our initial, like, think about at the beginning of the strategic plan was your presentation,
Mhm.
right? It's okay.
That should be
it's gone
video,
talk about that. We
that should be
can have the-
required.
Well,
We'll
that
hear
we
and we'll-
can put out
And
there,
then,
yes.
once we're ready to go break off,
go
then
off.
the, cameras will go off.
Like
and
the
then we'll go
strategic
off.
planning
But then-
meeting was not,
No, and then the following month you come back and say, okay, last month we
This is what we
talked
did.
about and
Yeah,
recap, and then go back to the
report
presentation.
on
and go
the
next.
committee, what the committee
did for that
people,
evening.
members decided at their meeting and report back to the Board of Education.
Could we
I-
put it?
All right, so no
similar-
changes, John.
Well, before you do that,
Sorry, my associate.
could we do it similar to a standard board meeting where if we go into small group discussion, it would be almost like going into closed session? But that way, if the committee is speaking here, it's public, because I mean, I do.
Well, it's not public where they have comments.
No, they don't
No.
comment in a board meeting either, except for the public forum, but I mean,
Oh.
in terms of public, like, this is
Why
available
is
for
that?
the
I think
public
it's
to
what, I think
see.
that's what you just said.
I just don't know, like, once we
I
go
just-
off into small committees, we're done, we're not
I
going
don't
back
know,
together.
But I
have
don't think
time.
you would really want to do that.
No,
Because I think
I don't
that, because
either.
then either, it can go two ways. We do our presentation, camera goes off, they go into their groups. And then either, and again, this is, you're the chair, but just
I
thinking
think
out loud. But you could either just share out what we
Yeah.
talk about at the following week,
Right.
at the general meeting, when you give. your
Oh, that's a
committee
good
report,
idea.
That's what I just
Or
said,
just
yes.
wait till the beginning of the next meeting and do it.
Right, or
Which
that
I
could be done at both. I mean, it could be brought back to the
Basically
citizens
memorialize what we did in our small group.
and then brought back at a regular board meeting and, you know, of course, do minutes, which I will do for the meeting. And put that on our website, which we could under the Citizens Advisory,
Mhm.
and do that also.
So then maybe again, this is your committee, obviously, but so when you give your report, next week, we could say, you know, this would be an atypical functioning of a subcommittee, right?
Right.
So we would say, you know, the idea would be, we'll stream the beginning portion of the meeting, but then for the purposes of just the general functionality of the
Correct.
meeting, you know, the live stream ends when we go into work sessions, and then as chairperson of the committee, you would just report out at the next board meeting.
I don't understand, I don't know why we have to stream the beginning of the.
Well, if we were
committee.
gonna give like an orientation or a
Yeah,
presentation.
you're gonna do it at the board meeting, right?
No, we mean at the beginning of each committee meeting, like when you're kind of.
Even the
like,
subcommittees?
Set the meeting on.
If we were,
That's up
if
to
we
you.
stick with the plan,
No.
like say like a 10-minute intro, like lesson or whatever you want.
So you would open the meeting.
Right,
Suggested, that might be something.
That you
public
want
is interested in.
streamed?
That's up to, well, that's up
Like a
to you.
presentation,
It's up to you.
a presentation.
I don't particularly care for that, but I mean,
Rich, I think from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you want to do like we did the strategic plan,
yeah,
because the strategic plan was working. Anybody's was
Yes.
welcome at that time.
it's a working
It's a
committee.
working committee, so, and then she would report out at every board meeting what was done. And then the update, which you do, on the website is the meat and potatoes.
Yes.
I agree.
I understand, I definitely think the portion where we're working doesn't need to be live streamed or recorded, but I think especially if we're going to have an expert come in and talk about things at the beginning, even if it's not live streamed, it would be good to have that recorded for the public to see those presentations. You know, and if there's a month where we don't have one of those presentations, then we don't have to.
Like, the September and October, we
to
probably
have the
would.
recording. But like, if someone comes in and talks about a discussion about, you know, here's the best way for your district to get grants and and different partnerships and sponsorships. That would be good for more than just the 20 people that are in here to actually see, because then maybe someone could say, hey, you know what, I would be interested in helping with that as well. But they won't even know that's available if they don't have visibility to see that presentation. Like when Patty Reese did the training,
Mhm.
right? That was really just a training for the board, but it was, it was recorded for the public to see. You know, and that was even less public,
Oh, that's right, what you did the training, I'm sorry.
that was even less of a public
Well,
thing than
unless-
this.
Unless when we start the October meeting, we do something like that to give everybody notification on where we're going. Because strategic plan and, you know,
Budget philosophy.
budget philosophy. And if we have, sorry, if we have, Laura and Miss Christie and come and speak at that 10 or 20-minute, intro,
that might be a good idea.
before the committee actually gets together, I could see doing that, but I can't see doing it every meeting. I just think that all the meetings should be working meetings in order to help us to get to where we want to be.
If we know we're gonna have a speaker,
If
if
we
we
know
know
that,
we're gonna have a speaker,
Yes.
then that could be tape recorded.
so that could be recorded, but I just think that it's like the strategic planning. You have the intro like Patty did.
That one time, which could be our October meeting, like you
And
said.
yes, and that would be the start of this committee. And each month, it would be a working committee. That's how I envisioned it, as a working committee, not as something to be put on the site. I mean, on
Yeah, well,
the,
the
be
good news
televised.
is that we could live month to month, you know,
Exactly.
we're here for all the committees.
That, and I think with this committee, you have to do that month to month.
Yes.
Every month could bring something else.
Exactly. You don't know what else is going to come out between, if we get anything from the state, if this happens, if somebody comes over and said, oh, you know, somebody just left the Monroe Township School District $300 million in their will. You don't know that.
You know, that meeting.
No,
She got something.
I'm just saying, for instance, you don't know, if from month to month, what's going to happen. Just like life, okay? Just like life.
I think
And we
that-
know about life
Approach the committee.
with, recently with losing a wonderful board member. So we have to take this month to month and be able to give them the instructions on, this committee, the instructions on what's your job now? What can you do? Okay? And then if we need to bring in a speaker, of course. I mean, nothing's off the board to me. I just don't want to see the whole committee be televised.
I think that's what we all said, like the working
Okay.
part of it, no, but like
Thank
about
you.
presentations.
That's fine.
Just
10-minute,
yeah.
10-minute presentation.
When appropriate.
And then how long of a meeting would you want?
3 hours.
No,
Well,
you're tired.
I knew you were gonna say that, Kate.
I would say an hour too, because
All right,
you don't know these
too.
people that are coming
An
that
hour.
have been working all day. Okay, and you've got students who have to be home.
So we're not really starting at 7:30.
No, we would start at 7. That's when this committee's supposed to.
I think we should, we can review it.
Well,
Just because it's been
7:30 on the,
7:30?
yeah,
Oh.
7:30.
7:30, it's been starting at 8 because
Because
the
we
curriculum
keep
runs
going
long. and
Curriculum, we
then-
gave curriculum more.
It is 7:30. Policy 6:45.
Book at 7:30.
Right, so I think that we need to look at, like, because curriculum generally
Yes.
runs long, right? So maybe that needs to either start earlier or policy needs to start
Later.
later. And then, policy,
So right
there's a
now,
lot of policies right now.
What if you go to a different day?
I was gonna say that,
You
so.
have These
having
two
a third.
committees that you just finished
No.
are very late.
Late.
What if you go to Wednesday after,
I was
what's
thinking
after,
BGT.
personnel?
The BGT, we do security after, that's usually.
How long
Not
does-
tomorrow.
how long does that usually go?
Oh, well,
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 depends.
we-
We're usually done until about 8,
Isn't it,
8:30 and we go.
it's late then finance, right?
Yeah.
And then BGTS.
and personnel, which we come in early.
You want, no, we want to keep it consistent on a Tuesday. How about of a different week?
What if, what
Would
if we
you come
switch
out another
finance?
night?
I wouldn't want to add I wouldn't want to add another night. I think that like we could look at, speaking to, Ms. Bork, she's the finance chair, but I also know she's here for curriculum. If we were able to possibly move,
Policy and.
finance and
Oh,
citizens
why don't we
advisory.
start citizens advisory first?
Right, well,
Because we could, if we start,
Well, it depends, what time? is-
personnel tends to run late though, so we would have.
Well, we did, the only thing is, our first meeting's at 6 o'clock, so
You
that
don't
might
know,
be
you don't know if
early.
people are going to be home from work at 6 o'clock
wait, which one?
for the citizens
Right,
advisory.
but right now, late starts at 6.
No, 5:30. No, I'm saying right now we go to curriculum at 5:30.
Yes.
So if you started, and you can do it later, it makes no difference to me, but if we did, not Lace, we didn't do Lace today.
No.
No,
it's
no,
tomorrow.
I'm talking about Tuesday, you want to leave it all the same, right? Tuesday, it's on Tuesday.
I was thinking about moving this to lace, not moving lace here, but we could look at switching
Moving
policy and lace.
Switch policy and CAC, just
Do
do this committee.
Oh, and then policy afterwards. Well, Mrs. Alvarez is right here.
Yeah.
So she could agree.
What do you think about that, Carmen? What-
That's what I meant.
Policy at what time? I'm sorry. After this, like switching them around?
Like doing citizens advisory at
Well, right now, let me just confirm, 5:30 to 6:40, 5:30 to 6:45 is curriculum.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now it's from 6:45 to 7:30.
Why did we give policy less time? Because we had less and now we have more. See, it doesn't work.
But we can change that, like, so if curriculum needs more time,
They
we
really,
could do 5:30 to 7. Because that would be an hour and a half.
which is what they really need,
Yep.
because we never have enough time.
Do citizens advisory.
From 7 to 8.
8.
And then
And
8
then
to whatever they
policy
need, policies.
Yeah, policy could be last, yeah.
I'll get, put that in writing, it's good.
That's a good choice.
And
After that, makes
Yeah,
sense.
right.
What's the point of saying it ends when we know curriculum doesn't end?
But you also have to take into point that the members of the committee that we get,
Yeah.
hopefully can make
7
these
o'clock
times.
is a great time.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, hopefully they can make the 7 o'clock time.
Most people, they go home, they have dinner or what have you.
Yeah, a
All right.
lot depends on, a lot of this committee depends on
What we get.
things, yes.
I just want to confirm though, before, may I put this in writing?
Yes, I think
But I'm
that's.
gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send it to you and you.
Oh, wait, don't,
Well,
who would that
Oh,
affect?
who that affects.
Charlie would have to leave curriculum and then come back for policy.
I mean, listen, like I do it on Wednesday, right? I have to stay here. during
I did it
finance.
last year for 2 committees. I used to take a walk
So,
around the
no,
building.
I tried to keep everybody like back to back.
I know,
can-
I know. You can
I'll talk to Charlie.
say what he said.
I'm not doing anything that you send me an email.
I'll
I
talk
mean,
to
the other
Charlie
thing we
and make sure that.
You send me an email and then. Well, you send the email, I don't even send it. So you just let me know.
Because I mean. with
That's right, I don't
finance,
have to send the email.
Okay, anything else tonight, ladies?
Just like, so you kind of covered, I was looking over the policy because you had
I said the
discussion,
policy.
which you discussed like the date of the reporting, which will be each month, right? And
Correct.
then
So at board
the other
meetings,
thing is like a budget. I mean, I'm gonna say our budget is 0, like unless there's.
Right, no, this is just
Have a budget,
ours,
right?
and I think, I was saying like at least 2/3 of it, we're actually following already.
Mhm.
Some of it is not relevant to what we're doing, we don't have a budget.
We don't have,
you know,
because
so,
we're not spending money.
Right.
Let's just be
It's
clear.
all
We don't
about-
have a budget because we're
it's all
spending
about having
it because we don't
information.
have money.
Right.
And then,
We're not
you know,
spending money.
if it comes back as a recommendation, then myself or Miss Allen, because we're the ones that make the recommendation.
Right.
If it comes to a recommendation.
Right.
And also, this might be an opportunity, it works out perfect with Mr. Moraldo being on here, because one of the things he started doing is sponsorship versus donations.
Yeah.
We had that constant conversation. Someone maybe is not gonna provide a donation, but they sponsor it,
Yes.
and they save us the cost.
You could give
The
them.
big difference is that sponsorship.
And that's part of the
the
job
district-
description.
The district will offer a deliverable in return.
Correct.
That's the brand management.
Right.
Product placement, things like that.
Maybe if someone wants to give us lumber for a cost, maybe you have to put their name on the
A
scoreboard.
donation, and we've received, we're gonna get a lot of support from the community, from the automotive class, thankfully.
I'm very excited about that class.
We just have to get everything clear.
That curriculum is being written now?
Oh, yeah. Well, the mapping is completed.
Okay.
A donation is just, they're gonna get stuff, no questions asked.
Right.
And we just have to approve it to make sure it's
We
viable.
do.
Right.
And we're not just junk.
Which we do every month.
And then
Friday the
from a
amount.
financial standpoint, quite often they'll circle back and ask, for, the tax information.
Yeah, of course.
So we have to be very careful with that. Also, we have to, a lot of times people think we can just take anything. We're a tight facility wise, so we can't just take stuff. And we also have to make sure stuff is safe, it's curricularly viable and controlled.
All right, no, I agree.
Certainly. So I only attached it because I think that we are almost close to following it.
Just looking at the policy, it says that it is open to the public. So I just wanted to review that because we discussed,
Well,
It
like,
is.
if,
it is open. to
right, but so like if people come that are not on the committee, are they going to be part of the discussions? They're just gonna
No, they
walk
don't.
around?
To be like,
No.
not like our committees are open to the public now.
Yeah.
You can sit and you can.
You can sit and listen, but you
listen,
won't have
that's
any
why,
input.
you're
Right,
just
but like,
deciding
right-
to, like, that's
Right.
what it is.
Which like I understood, except like right now, we're all sitting at this table up here,
Well,
right?
we will be at
If we're
tables.
doing
Yeah.
smaller groups,
Still
is
tables.
it just tables? Because people aren't gonna hear what's going on. I guess it's.
No, they can hear, but they cannot participate. Like, we wouldn't stop anybody from listening. So let's say we had someone, a member of the public, and they were like, 4 people this table, 5 people, they can walk around, they can listen. We're not, there's nothing that they can't hear, but they can't participate. I don't think we can stop them
I
from
mean, we
listening.
can really, and I don't
I don't
know,
like them
No,
to
that
walk
we can
around the
really-
table.
Well, that's not,
That's what I was trying.
but is
to
it
suggest.
required?
It says it's,
Well, let me ask a
in the
question.
policy, unless we want to
Well,
revise.
wait a minute, wait a minute.
Revise it.
Well, wait a minute, we'll have to know.
No.
Make the policy gray. It's open to the public. It is open to the
Like,
public. We're
can
welcoming
come-
people to
can come and
participate.
listen. I mean, listen, you also
But
can't.
she was saying she doesn't want people walking around. That's what I was
But
trying
you
to
can't- but
say.
You can't, we can't not have people walking around in here either, right? If
Right,
they
someone
come, they
comes
don't
right
wanna
now.
sit in a chair and they wanna go walk
Well,
around
they
the
won't-
library, they
And they
could.
sit, but if it's in committee and they're discussing, I think it would
But
be
doesn't,
a detriment to the committee people that are sitting in
Right.
groups to have somebody walking around, looking and listening to them.
but doesn't it mean open to the public means that the committee's open to the public? She's opened it up to the, we've opened it up to the public.
Meetings of the Citizens Advisory Committee that are attended by fewer than a majority of members of the board not subject to OPMA,
Okay.
but shall be open to the public. Then it says except as
It's
expressly permitted by the board. So I think we, like, this is.
So you don't have to change the policy. She's saying expressly the permission's not there,
Okay. That's-
right?
That's right
I
here.
just,
You are the board.
Yeah. Like, I don't like the idea of, let's say that somebody who's not on the committee comes in first, like, well, I don't know that, I mean, we would know who's on the sign-in sheet.
Right.
Because we'd open it
But-
like this first, right, and then go into committee.
But then if somebody walks in and is just observing,
You
the
can't
committee,
stop.
you can't really
That's
stop
fine. I just don't want them, that's fine if they're observing, but I don't want them
They're
walking
small
around
groups.
interrupting committee.
but if we're in small groups and you're over there, like, you can't observe a small group from over there. Should they be walking around and
That's
listening?
right. I don't
I know,
want
I,
that.
I don't.
Are the small groups necessary? What if we have a more structured agenda?
It depends on, yeah, it all depends on what comes out, Carmen, at each meeting, on how we can, you
I'm
know,
fine with either
establish.
way. I just wanted to bring it
But
up
the board,
because.
the board has the right, if you want, it's the decision of the board,
Yeah.
to say that they can't be in here.
I just don't like
I
that.
don't like not, I don't
You
like
don't, you don't want to dissuade anybody
having
from
to
coming.
say, no, you can't come in. Like, I would rather it be open to the public like it says. I
Can it
mean,
be open to the public in the beginning? Like we do, can it be open to the public for the first 20
Like,
minutes?
you're talking like security almost, I just, like what we do with BGTS. I just like, you
Yeah.
talk about being similar to a strategic plan, right? With strategic plan, the difference was anyone could come in, right? There weren't members, like, anybody was welcome to participate. With this, we're having specific
Selected.
members, so if that's what
Structured
you,
committee.
if you want a structured committee,
Yeah.
it's different as much as we want it to be in a similar working format. But
Right,
that
it's
was.
a structured committee, but I'm not gonna deter anybody from coming into the meeting. I just don't want them walking around, if we're in small groups,
So
interrupting the
what you would
small.
suggest is they watch the presentation and then you want them to leave.
If there is a presentation, there might be a time where
There
there
might not be a
is
presentation, depends on.
Once-
If the agenda
Each
has a
month.
presentation,
Yes.
they can come and watch it, and
Yeah.
once we're in the small groups, you would want people
And
to,
they can sit in the audience if they're in small groups.
but they're not gonna, because they're in small groups. They won't hear, there's four
Well,
different
then,
conversations
then they
happening.
won't stay if they can't hear it. I mean, am I picking up wrong on this? I mean, if I was coming in on here and I saw there was small group people talking, I would just leave. That's me personally.
People maybe want to hear intention.
That's
Well,
what I had.
And they should become part of the
But what if
group.
we don't pick them? Maybe they were the one that
I
put in their
I don't know,
application.
I really think.
See how many people apply?
I was gonna
Let's
say,
just wait and- I would like to
yeah,
wait and
I
see.
wanna say we wait and cross this bridge when we get there, but also,
We can
this
discuss,
is the Citizens Advisory Committee and
And they're
it's supposed to
citizens.
be a committee of the community. And
Right.
I don't really wanna shut people out either. So even if, I can't imagine there's gonna be like 30 people who are just gonna walk in one month. I don't know, I could be wrong, could be wrong.
but maybe
But
small
also,
groups.
like, if somebody wants to just come in and like walk around and like, oh, this is. a
What's
great
going on? I
community,
really
like,
wanna
and
see what's
it's here,
happening.
I also don't see a problem
As
with that.
long as they're not disruptive
I
to
don't-
what
yeah,
we're doing
I-
here at the committee.
Like, when you say
that's
disruptive,
fine.
like they're okay to sit with us and discuss that they can't be rude, or you won't,
No, they
like,
can't, I don't think they would be able to discuss anything if they're not part of the committee. They
Yeah,
can still.
I think you're treading on a very fine line.
I think if you're,
and I don't
if
think
you're
it's
in a
possible.
meeting like
And
this.
we have to define that line in that policy a little bit different before we start this.
Maybe the small group idea is the like the occasional thing and not the norm, like, that's why, like, I thought this, because this is a committee of the board.
How many people
it's
should we
what
say?
we should have.
15 all total, including, that's 12, including 3 students.
Okay.
So it's 12 committees.
So if you structure what you're saying this way,
Almost like curriculum. There's like.
So it would be the whole
supervisors
table.
and-
but then someone could come and sit and watch, they wouldn't give their input.
They can come and sit and watch, yeah.
Right, and they can hear it, which would be different though, if if you have 4 groups of 4 that are just talking to each other.
Like,
Well, then maybe we try not to have that kind of, set.
That's what I,
That's what I was saying, try not to do that and just have it
Right.
like
just have
one
regular-
big group, yeah.
It's like a Socratic seminar, like you're giving
Yes,
information,
yes.
getting information back. Then the old strategic plans, I don't know, I'm guessing the only one because you're woman. The old strategic plans going back to 2010, we used to meet at the library. It was structured just like this. It was a big room. Dr. Hamilton at the time was the superintendent, and everybody, and you had parents, you had, some people didn't have children yet, you had employees that came, you had principals, you had teachers, and it was structured like this, and it was very much this kind, everybody was respectful, like maybe you want to, well, you're the chair, so you have to make people, you have to acknowledge them to speak, but then everybody was allowed to have a say,
Yeah.
and, but you did have goals, so you had a goal, so this is what we're gonna discuss today, this is what our goal will be for the evening. And then, but then it eliminates anybody feeling uncomfortable, everybody can come and sit in the gallery, they
Right.
can listen, kind of like they do now, when they come to BG&T or wherever they come.
That's fine.
and if we just keep, I mean, you can basically keep.
We
it
can
in
make
that,
it
but you can use the inside of
How
the
many
table.
supervisors are usually at curriculum? It wouldn't be that different, maybe 1 or 2 more people, right?
You're absolutely right, because sometimes we have principals come, so if you have,
Let's put your.
we can easily make this.
Could work the way
Oh, yeah,
that
we
is.
could make this work. We could-
So let's just say 20 purposes. So right now we have whatever we set up for what we set up for our Board of Ed meetings. But we would structure it just like this. I think what's nice about that, and that's a good idea, what's nice about that is everybody's equal. Everybody has an input. You run the meeting, you sit in the middle and run the meeting, who speaks, who doesn't speak. But I do think that for every meeting, and every meeting would be different, you're gonna have whatever the goal of that meeting is.
Right.
And it might be very different. One meeting might be, oh my God, we have this awesome financial person who wants to come in and give a presentation on things maybe we didn't think of. And then I would like also, because it's your meeting, with your permission, when appropriate, I'd like to have Ms. Christie, Ms. Allen. There are certain members of the leadership team that maybe should be here, just like the supervisors come to curriculum.
Right, no, you're exactly right. I said that we should have them come at that 15 or 20-minute presentation before the meeting
Right.
starts.
And
So-
some of them can stay.
And stay, because there might be questions from the committee
Or
of
they
those
break out
people.
into groups.
So we're not breaking out.
Or
Well,
have
I
the
think
meeting
before we
presentation
set the
during the
task.
group, during the meeting. Have the presentation during the meeting.
I thought we were gonna have
The
it
presentation.
in the
presentation
beginning of the
first.
meeting, well, first, and
And
then,
you said before the meeting, but
No, I
during the
think-
meeting.
No,
That's what she means. She was-
I meant before, and then,
Before the give and take conversation.
and then
Yes.
Got it.
start the
So
meeting with the
that's
people, right?
7 o'clock or whatever time.
Then actually, it's good that the
No.
public is watching us because they know that we're authentically trying to come up with what's appropriate, what's best for the community. Because we have to have, we've never had this before.
And then what's
Have to
interesting
have
is
this
live stream
conversation.
it because it's a committee meeting, right? It's the same as curriculum, so you can have it live streamed and recorded.
You could have live stream recorded and people could come and watch.
Yes, we're
like
not
you do.
deterring people from coming and watching. It's gonna be open.
So
and
maybe it will be structured
like this,
like this.
just like this.
Yep, just put chairs on the inside.
Yep.
We'll just add a table.
Great.
Got all that?
Yeah, Mr. Ability. Said it's gonna be structured the way curriculum structured, and they'll be appropriate based upon who's participating. So maybe there was someone, I want to say had an assignment, but maybe someone did have a goal to come with something done. Assignment. You know.
So not to be wet sock.
No, don't.
The only problem, and again, I'm trying to think of, so like if we had to make like an adjustment, I was half paying attention when you were talking about shifting the times.
Yes.
Like if we needed to make an adjustment to the room after like policy, although we would just kind of set the table as is and just set it for the night, I imagine.
Yeah, you just,
Because we're gonna keep this set up.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's-
Because it's
just
just
set
nothing
up, right.
has to change.
I'll edit that last question.
A lot of public, they're gonna want to set up speakers too.
Yeah, that's what he was
Yeah,
saying.
but they're not gonna,
no, they can't,
they
they
can't speak.
Want to hear you.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
You can see, I don't think we will have a lot of members of the public sitting there because I mean, it's a working committee. How many people do we have on the other working committees?
2 or 3 on
Right,
occasion.
so
Yeah.
if we see the first month that is a problem, we can.
We can always
evaluate
adjust it.
And
and-
we're all very loud.
We can talk about this next month.
Yes,
Once
we
we
can.
have all of our.
Yes, it's
Members
still a
and
work in
after
progress,
the-
and even this is a work in progress.
All the 3-hour meetings that you want.
But we can set up for September and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Is there anything else to be brought before the meeting?
No, Lisa's gonna continue to have her own 3-hour meeting.
You can sit here as long as you want for 3 hours, hon, but the
Have to be
meeting,
out by 10 to policy.
the meeting's over. Thank you, Mr. Mazzola.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzola.
Thank you.
Good night.